Welcome to the Cherry Picker, the horror movie podcast where we like to kill people, but not really. I'm your host, Zach Cherry, and with me as always...
I love myself like this. I love myself like this. Hedy of Edward is Truth.
And today, we are talking about single white female...
White.
Which 30 years old now. This was released August 14th, 1992. And
my God.
we needed a filler podcast. And it was 30 years old. So, I figure why not?
We could do worse by filler.
We have done worse. This is the thing is, this is a mindless, shut your brain off and just enjoy salacious 90s thriller.
The White Walls Loft with a ceiling fan thriller, in the same vein as, say, Fatal Attraction or Basic Instinct or arguably Sleeping with the Enemy. I even thought about one Madonna made that was... Body of Evidence, I think was what it was called, and she pours candle wax on Willem Dafoe's naked body, and he goes, and everything. Oh, it's
How
great.
Valentine, Denise Richards.
Yeah, right.
Obviously, that predated it though, but yeah, just it's a very specific trope kind of movie of just the other woman who kind of moves in and takes over. Whether it be in this case the identity, but sometimes the boyfriend or the marriage and whatnot. This was actually I don't know why it was never classified as a remake, because it basically is a full-on remake for the 2000s or 2011, whenever it came out. It's called The Roommate with Leighton Meester from Gossip Girl. It's the exact same plot, except it's just set in college. You go back and watch the two of them back to back. It's ridiculous, but nothing.
Is it any good?
No, no. You definitely watch Single White Female rather than The Roommate.
Okay.
But it's out there. It's got Billy Zane is the. He's the creepy professor who's kind of like the stand-in for the creepy client in this movie.
Sure. Stephen Tobolowsky. Yeah.
It's got Cam Gigandet from the OC, if that means anything to anyone.
Sure.
Anyway, it's basically like the CW version of Single White Female. But I was looking it up because I'm just like, is there anything listed, at least on the IMDb, that says this is a remake of Single White Female? And there's nothing. The writer credit is original. It's not like, when you go to IMDb and it shows several writing credits because it's, sourced from other material. Nothing like that.
Sure.
They just full on copied and pasted, and nobody noticed. Nobody, or if they did, they were allowed to. Because this was based on a book. Single White Female is based on I don't know if it's a bestseller, but it's
no, I don't think so.
So it was just astounding
exploitative.
That even for The Roommate in 2011, it didn't credit any source material. Anyway, what's this movie about, Edward?
I'm so glad you asked, Zach Cherry.
Allie Jones is a software designer in New York City, set to revolutionize the fashion world. But her personal life is under reconstruction when she discovers her fiancé Sam has accidentally slept with his ex-wife. After confiding in her gay best friend Graham, Allie resolves to seek out a roommate by placing an ad. Though many unsuitable applicants cross the threshold, one shy but sweet candidate named Hedra finds a way into Allie's good graces. all too willing to fill the void left by Sam's departure, one seemingly selfish act after another. But as time progresses, Allie's left to wonder if this happily ever after scenario is too good to be true, and whether she'll come to regret ever posting the words single white female.
Question for you. Okay, because it's such a dated term. Like you would especially in 2022, you would never see a newspaper ad that said single white female or anything just like denoting race.
The name of the book was Single White Female Seeks Same. And I thought, oh, you couldn't write that book today. That
So
sounds
the book is actually Seek Same.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's so,
Oh, wow.
yeah. It's just like, ooh, that just gives white supremacy vibes all over it. It's like, but I thought in a more poetic note, like it actually is a really, really appropriate title if you look at it from Hedy's point of view, because that's exactly what she's a single white female who is seeking the same, like a twinship as it were. But
well, I was gonna say, according to the IMDb trivia, and who knows how accurate this shit ever is, Whoopi Goldberg was originally in consideration for the role of Alison that went to Bridget Fonda, and I don't know if like they were seeking her out or she showed an interest in it, but in that case, like, what do they change the title to?
I find that really, I mean, I don't know if I don't believe it, because Ghost had already been on the scene and Whoopi won her Oscar, so I don't know. But at the same time, Ghost was a thriller. It was another lofty thriller.
This seems like it's right up Whoopi's alley. Like, I can't see her not doing it. It's just that just in terms of like, what are we gonna do about the title? Because they're okay, and just a little history of I guess we can even call this a franchise, because there is a sequel to this. It's like just called Single White Female 2, The Psycho, or something. I'd never seen it. It came out straight to video in the early 2000s. But there's also, if you look up, there's a movie called Single Black Female. I don't know if that's like actually affiliated with this or like a spin-off, or I think it's just like something someone made up. But I mean, like, I can't see them, if they were like to cast Whoopi Goldberg, to be like, oh, well, we'll just call it Single Black Female, and then it'll just be the same thing, Seek Same, but it'll instead of Jennifer Jason Leigh, it would be I don't know, give me a popular.
Whitney Houston. I don't know.
Sure, I would watch that.
I don't know. Well, Whitney Houston she was a really, really good actress.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could see her playing a role like Hedy, though. I'm wondering who would have been a good, like, crazy foil for Whoopi Goldberg. I don't know. Because also, it's not just about, like, finding, Seeks the Same and everything like that. Yeah. But, I mean, one of the things that's so striking about this movie for me, I even noticed it, because I am very familiar. I'm a Jennifer Jason Leigh stan. I am so familiar with the contours of her face. I'm just, oh, my God. Dorothy Parker in The Vicious Circle, and The Anniversary Party, and Last Exit to Brooklyn. And I'm just such a fan. Anyway. Yeah. So I was watching Bridget Fonda, who I think is also very, very great. I just don't get to see her play the lead in many films,
It's funny that you say that because you're a huge Jennifer Jason Leigh fan, because I'm a huge Bridget Fonda fan. If there ever was like one that existed, because she, to me, like, she is the 90s. You couldn't go anywhere without seeing a movie that Bridget Fonda was in, and she has this quality to her that she's kind of like. This is why I would argue, like, she actually is a really good actress, because she doesn't, like, she always plays different characters in everything that you see her in. I think my favorite performance of hers is actually in Jackie Brown, the Quentin Tarantino movie. She's just such a delight in that movie. Like, other than Pam Grier, she steals the show, like, every scene that she's in. But she was just one of those actresses that she like was really good at, like, blending in. And
Yes.
not that that's like a good thing to say, but she did it really well. She just blended in that. I'm sure, like, even if you're not familiar, you've probably seen tons of Bridget Fonda movies and not even realized that you were
Yes.
watching Bridget Fonda. And then she just kind of quit. She just retired in the early 2000s. She got married to Danny Elfman, the composer.
Wow.
So
Didn't know about
she's
that.
yeah, she's done quite well for herself and just retired, just like disappeared off the face of Hollywood, at least.
Nice.
But yeah, for me, like I probably initially saw this because I'm just like, oh, Bridget Fonda, and I watched it, and I do love Jennifer Jason Leigh as well, so it was just
Yeah.
nice to have both of them in there. And actually, fun fact, before I take up all the airtime and take away from your story, is that their fathers, because they come from famous Hollywood families. Her father was Peter Fonda. Jennifer's father was Vic Morrow. They actually played in a movie together. Is it Dirty Mary, Crazy Larry, or something like that from the 70s?
Oh, I didn't.
And their fathers play adversaries in that movie. So it's just kind of like everything came full
so
circle for their
cool.
daughters to like come together and be nemesis in a movie like 20 years later. Yeah.
That makes me so jolly, dude. That's awesome. But no, because that's the thing is just to bounce off like Bridget Fonda. Yeah, I have seen her in a number of movies, but she always seems to be like in the background, and she usually takes her moment like when it's allotted her, and she does it very, very well. But I just haven't seen that many movies that are like Bridget Fonda is, that kind of thing. But I think she's absolutely like a beyond competent actress, and I miss seeing her in things now that I think about it. But in this movie, just watching Bridget Fonda's face, I kept seeing like the cheekbones and just like the track that her nose is in on her face, and the way her features fall. I could easily see how you could cast Jennifer Jason Leigh against Bridget Fonda and plot out like how we're going to shoot them, from what angles, where exactly the hair needs to be to capitalize on these already strikingly kind of similar features that if you just saw the two actresses standing side by side, you wouldn't really like. When Jennifer Jason Leigh as Hedy first comes into the movie, she's got her long brown hair and everything like that, and even just like I think she's almost a full head shorter than Bridget Fonda also.
Yeah, she's definitely shorter.
Yeah, and they're both like slender white actresses in the 90s, but the more I kind of like get to like focus on their bodies in comparison to one another, I think it is largely about like what wardrobe they put them in, or what angles they chose to shoot them from, because Jennifer Jason Leigh and Bridget Fonda have very different builds, even though they're both slender white actresses, their body shapes are still different. But so what they managed to do in terms of like some of the shots, particularly of Jennifer Jason Leigh from behind, I think it's astonishing. Like, I mean, it's one thing that actually puts this movie above kind of like guilty pleasure 90s sexy or quasi-sexy thrillers with a dead animal thrown in, because it's because of like what they achieved in terms of like the resemblance between them, but also just what they achieved as actors, the two of them, because actually I don't think anybody gives a bad performance in this movie. I had a great time. Everybody seemed to be filling the moment exactly the way it should be, and I didn't once experience a lull. I was riding the roller coaster the whole time. Why? What about you?
Oh, there's definitely... Okay, well, I've seen this movie many times, obviously. Like, I probably first saw it, I want to say, like, early 2000s, maybe late 90s. And I've always enjoyed it. Like, it is a guilty pleasure to me. And I don't know, this last time just watching it, more so towards the end, because I like the build-up at the beginning, like, and it just the slow unraveling of just when you can see like the little problems popping up here and there, and how it's going to manifest into like a bigger thing later on. But once they get to the, I think it's probably like after she's already killed the boyfriend, and Bridget Fonda already knows, but she's still like trying to pretend. And it's another situation of like, well, she knows that I know that she knows that I know, but she doesn't know that I know. And it just felt like it just took a little bit of time. Like, it wasn't a major lull. But I definitely would have liked the climax to be more spread out, because that scene happened a lot quicker than I remember it. It was just kind of like, Bridget Fonda almost does the Michael Myers from like The Pipe, although like just dipping down, but like with her like legs wrapped around the pipe or however she does it, and then stabs her with the screwdriver. I would have liked there to be more of a cat and mouse game because that was a really good set. The furnace room.
It wasn't a set. That was the actual building that they shot in. It was practical. Yeah.
That's a great building. It's not the one from Rosemary's Baby, but it's similar. But the apartment, that was a set.
The apartment itself.
The exteriors, the hallways, the shot of the stairwell as she's walking down. That's all the actual building, and I guess the furnace room as well.
Yeah. Because I saw an interview with Barbet Schroeder, the director, very, very brief, and it was with this interviewer who I can't remember her name right now, but he seemed very kind of like impatient in the best way. Like, all he wanted to do was get to it. Let's just talk about my movie. She asked like 3 questions and then thanked him for his time, and he just kept talking. So maybe I just feel an affinity for him, but it's as one who talks a lot. But no, but he wanted to really reference the fact that like how wonderful that building was for him, and how much it lent itself as like almost like a secondary character for the movie, because I mean it definitely makes an impression. And every time they turn a corner, like when Ali is showing Hedy kind of like the ins and outs of the laundry room and the this and the that and everything like that, it's all got that wonderful kind of like paint chipped, weather beaten, it's been around forever, who knows the last time this elevator was serviced kind of feel. And I'm tempted to say that can't be crafted. It can, but it's probably much more of a relief as a filmmaker if you can just find it. Also, because I'm a huge Jennifer Jason Leigh stan, I have an old VHS copy of the interview she did for Inside the Actors Studio with James Lipton back in the day, when she talks about this movie very briefly. And one of the things that she loved about working with Barbet Schroeder was they do about 4 takes with him giving direction and everything like that, and then just honing in, and then finally like, all right, now we do one for the pleasure. I can't do a French accent, so just imagine I'm doing one. But he'd say, just one for the pleasure. Yeah. And then everybody would just kind of do whatever you want. And she talked about how incredibly freeing that was. And I think that's another thing that I react to, is that the actors seem incredibly comfortable. Jennifer Jason Leigh has always been naked in a lot of movies, particularly when she was younger. And she's very naked in this movie. And that's another reason I love it, is because she has this gift of being naked on film but not caring. Like, she's not worried about like catching her at the right angle or anything like that. And it works for Hedy too. Like, every time she strips or opens her robe or even exposes like her bare leg while she's talking to Sam, in the threshold of the bedroom entrance and everything like that, before Ali walks in and interrupts or whatever, there's this wonderful kind of like what's the word I'm looking for? It's not aggressive, but just very forthcoming freedom that I think Jennifer Jason Leigh, she herself has, and I love that she gets to bring it.
Well, that whole scene is just awkward.
Yes.
Well, the way that they just, because I was watching some of the Blu-ray features, and the writer described, I think it was the writer, unless it was the actor who played Sam. What's his face?
Steven Weber.
But they described it as like the afterglow, like the after sex afterglow, which that was sort of Hedy encroaching on Ali's territory by claiming that as her own. So she got to stand there and have the little flirtatious conversation while Ali just kind of walks up and just like, what are you doing? And then I'm like, oh, hey, like, just keeping him company while you're gone. Whatever the exchange was.
The invasion is very social and feels palpable to me. Like there's something incredibly authentic about Hedy taking up a little too much space. And I think I've been around that kind of person more than one time in my life.
Well,
have
you... Do you have a roommate story?
No, I don't. Thank God. I'm not a roommate haver. It's not my gig.
Same. Yeah. I
and
mean,
I've had a friend. Yeah.
Like I've had roommates, and they've all been people I know. Like I've never, had a blind scenario where I just, would go meet someone that I'd never met before. But I don't like. I've always like preferred living on my own. Like I that's how I started out. Once I moved out of home, and there was a time just when I wasn't making as much money that, I had to have roommates, and it was never, it was probably me. But it was like, no, I can't do this.
No.
And, who's the common denominator? But, it just, I could never, like, if I did have a roommate, it would have to be a friend that I already knew. Like I could never, just meet a stranger. Not to say that it wouldn't work. I mean, it could have worked. What was the one that she interviewed? They're just like, I think this is really going to work. Which is just like, had she just called her instead of like looking at that photo of
breaking
Sam,
down,
then there would be no movie. It would have been a happily ever after. Nobody
Although I
would
don't
have
trust
died.
that girl either. That girl seemed like she was, was the kind of person who like has a hatchet collection.
If
in her
this was like
if
it was made 10 or 15 years later, that would have been the not the post credits, but like the very end of the movie where Bridget Fonda would call up this girl and be like, "Hey, I was wondering if you were still looking for a roommate," and you just see the girl on the other end. She'd be like, "Yeah, absolutely. I can be by in a half an hour." And then she would just hang up the phone and it would like pan over to show all these dead bodies in her.
Yes. Oh my God.
And just to show like sequel.
But
I wanted to say as well, because
Yeah.
I just the applicants, I guess, because you've talked about her before. The one actress who played. She's credited as mannish.
Yes. Tara Carcian. Yeah. I had forgotten. I knew that she was in this movie, but I hadn't seen it in a while, so I forgot. So then when she came on stage, when she came on screen, I was just kind of like, "Oh my God, it's Tara!" And I'm checking my IMDb, just like this is a lot of years ago. Is that Tara? It is. I forgot. I was really proud of her because, again, if she would have been in the movie, it would have been a whole different movie. But she's a great actress. It would have been amazing. But anyway.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned like when she comes on stage, because this does feel a great deal like a play. I'm sure that, like if there hasn't been a stage production of Single White Female, there should be, because it's like the perfect
musical.
Sure.
There's an Evil Dead musical, there's a Carrie musical, there can be a Single White Female musical.
Yeah.
But no, I just okay. I want to ask you. I guess one of the characters I completely forgot about, and I did completely forget he was in this movie, was Peter Friedman playing Graham, the gay, the quasi best friend, but just kind of confidant neighbor. And how fucked up is it that he could hear her having sex for that long? Like basically like everything prior to this movie and everything up until the point where he finally discloses to her at a key moment, in the third act of the film, that he could hear everything. And she gets all embarrassed and like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry."
It was almost like because he knew that like, okay, this is my moment. I'll let her know now, because there's already like a bigger villain in the picture, that like I can get away with it. But I thought like the first time we ever see him is because it's her and Sam fighting, and then that's when we see that he can hear the sounds coming out of the register, and he's not just like mulling about doing his own thing and it, like overhearing it. He's got a glass of wine propped right next to the vent. He's laying in bed like with his head kind of like over the mattress, like leaning into the thing to like hear every single word. And I don't know how she couldn't know, because when she comes upstairs right after that and he's waiting at the door and she's like, "Hi," and he's like,
Yep.
he almost has this like knowing look, like, yeah.
And then it's amazing because it's another one of those kind of like plot conveniences, or plot contrivances rather, when we know, okay, from his bed he can hear clearly everything that's going on in her apartment, probably her bedroom.
Yeah.
Yet when they're up there talking to each other, and Hedy enters the apartment and calls out for Allie numerous times, full voice, they don't hear a thing, and it's only until she like gets close to the vent that she can hear them all of a sudden. I don't know, I just kind of thought like, all right, I see you, movie, I see what you're doing. Like, I mean, they can only hear because it's scripted, but I thought I just thought it was kind of like a bad look on a gay best friend in the 90s for him to wait until that moment. Because I'm just trying to think of myself like in a scenario like that. If I had a friend and I could hear anything, I'd be there the next morning, like, you know, with a muffin basket or some kind of brunchy thing, just being like, if I knew the guy's gone, I'd just be kind of like, okay. And they'd be like, I had a great night last night, or I had such a night last night. I'd be like, I know, I heard. And just so it's on the table, you know, I think he's probably the most duplicitous person in the entire movie. I don't really feel that way, but I wanted to say it.
I mean, I probably would have just been like, hey, can you keep it down? I'm trying to like
Right.
live my life here. You know, you're disturbing us with your sex noises and arguments and what have you. But no, he was just, I mean, he was a single white male seeking the same. You know, he had nothing else going on. He was that was like the most entertainment he probably ever got, was listening to her apartment noises.
Just an old gay man and his cat. Well, as an old gay man with his cat, I take offense. But also I can see the time. You know, now that I know it's been 30 years.
30, yeah.
God damn. I remember seeing commercials for this movie. This is another one. Like, every now and then there's a like movie from the 80s or the 90s, and I just remember kind of like single white female, you know, over like an R-rated like opens Thursday or something,
and
like
probably
that.
like the titles like flying all across the like every which way until it just
right. I actually thought about a trailer or a commercial that I saw all the time for another movie while I was watching. It's not nearly as good as this one. I don't even think I've seen it in its entirety, but I think it's the Crush with Alicia Silverstone and Carrie Elways. Do you remember that one?
Yeah.
It was like kind of like on the tail end of this era. Like, it was trying to kind of like garner you in with like you know, intrigue. And Alicia Silverstone had just done Clueless, and she was kind of like the hot thing, and she hasn't been Batgirl yet. So I just remember
which was the next hot thing. Yeah.
Exactly. I just remember hearing like the exchange where she's just like, I think his name was Nick. She was like, I love you, Nick, and you love me. But this movie made me think about that for some reason.
Well, it's just and like the hand that rocks the cradle, and you know, just like that. It's almost like a mini subgenre of just like early, like late 80s, early 90s, and these movies only existed then. And never any time else, until they remade them for the younger kids. Swim Fan wasn't Swim Fan like a fatal attraction for high school students?
With Jesse, what's his name? The one from Bring It On.
Bring It On.
I don't remember his name. Yeah, I never saw that one. That was one of the ones where I was just kind of like, oh, kid, and I just moved on with my life. But as far as this one, I think I would still kind of... I haven't revisited a bunch of them in a long time. I haven't seen Basic Instinct in probably over 20 years. I haven't seen Sleeping with the Enemy in longer than that. Fatal Attraction I probably watch every 4 or 5 years or so, because I absolutely adore that movie. But with this one, like, I was actually really kind of like enjoying even some of the things that were planted in the script to... I don't know, just give like a little kind of colorful, almost literary like background and stuff, like the fact that not only is Hedy suffering from a loss of her twinship, but there's this unfriendly split with Allie and her old business partner. So she's already experienced a kind of, even prior to Sam, like she's already experienced a kind of like betrayal. Like they talk about like the bad blood between the two of them and how like what did they Stephen Tobolowsky goes on about it, like how like she walked away with all of this, but Hedy got like what, the apartment and and his number or something like that. I don't even remember what he said, but
or Allie,
just like that Allie. Yeah, sorry. See, I'm doing it, but that
you're falling
Allie,
for it.
I'm falling for it, but that Allie, so that Allie can be like almost in her own kind of like version of Dire Straits, where she's desperate for companionship because I guess her gay neighbor just isn't enough. And
yeah.
She's,
well, there's even a scene when the scene where they're walking through the basement, and because I guess like the Hedy is like almost like her dirty little secret that the people who live there can't know because she's not allowed to have roommates that are not on the lease, and she's just like, oh, you know, you'll meet some people like Graham upstairs, like he's really great, and like, is he? And it just intimated like boyfriend. She's just like, no, he's gay, but you'll really love him. he's not like that. He's not like the other guy.
I also just adore the devices, I guess, like from a writer's standpoint, that Hedy uses to kind of ingratiate herself more with Allie. The fact that like first it's like she finds the old like broken lamp and they both she fixes it up, and then Allie like paints it, and it's like this thing that they made together, and she can always look at it and think of her. And then the sink, like the way they bonded over that, because
oh my gosh, well that was the first that was before she even accepted her as a roommate, and I was just like,
that was the first domino.
That's basically like the meet cute of like any rom-com where someone's like trying to fix the sink and then it like explodes and they're like, we're getting all wet.
Yeah, right. Oh God, I loved it because it's something that I could see Hedy absolutely idealizing, like in her head too.
That should have been like the twist of the movie. The whole thing ended and it was just like Hedy waking up in the mental institution and just being like, this. Like, remember that time I had a roommate that never actually existed?
Yeah, I do wish she hadn't died. That would have been a sequel I would have watched if
Hedy's
Hedy
Revenge.
and Allie could still go. Yeah, that would have been great. But and even just like the things like the shoes, like the way that like they're both trying on the same shoes, and then she's just like, no. Hedy tells Allie like, no, it's okay, you just buy them. I'll just borrow them when I want them. And I'm like, look at you, just fine. Like you're making. It's too familiar. That's the thing. I know it's people when you barely know somebody and they're already kind of like making plans with you, just kind of like, well, you know, if you really like that, we could have dinner and I could tell you about. You know, it's just like, no. It's okay.
What are their zodiac signs?
I'm not gonna tell. I don't know. Do I remember? Here I'm all like getting defensive. Like I'm not gonna tell you, and I don't know. I didn't pay any attention. There's too many too. Like there's a whole story. I won't tell you.
Oh, her chart is probably full of every
a little bit of everything. Yeah. But and then of course the puppy Buddy. Oh God, see that was one thing where I got major like fatal attraction because I was just kind of like, oh my God, it's like we don't have a rabbit though, we got a golden retriever. Oh my God, but game over for me when Hedy's sitting there alone, and what is she eating? Something out of a bowl, and she's pissed. I don't know if it's cereal or soup or ice cream. Okay,
I think so.
Yeah, right. She's sitting there just like eating all lonely and shit like that, and looking at the door, and Allie's not there, and she's pissed. And the puppy just wants to be a puppy, and she doesn't kick him, but she pushes him forcefully with her foot, and just like that's not for you or whatever. And I'm just like, well, okay, no, I can't feel any sympathy for you anymore. Even if I do, I won't. But because I can't take that shit. I did.
Yeah, she crossed the line.
Yeah, when you kick the puppy, no, you're a bad person.
Oh, I'm like, she killed the puppy, but I mean the kicking.
Well, no, I mean, but that was the first sign where I was just kind of like, because I was not surprised when the puppy was dead. I forgot about the bird's eye view shot of the puppy, though. I didn't need that. That made me very sad. But I mean, at the same time, I would have felt cheated if they didn't show it in the movie because they showed the rabbit in Fatal Attraction. I did. Okay, when Hedy is... No. When Allie is trying on the earrings... Wait, is it... When is it? Wait, there's earrings. I'm trying to remember. It's the long one.
So it's when she... Well, because you're talking about the lamp that they found and Allie was fixing up with her. Because I guess it was in Hedy's room, and Allie came in with a lampshade to like complete the lamp, and she started snipping around her belongings, and she found the earrings, and she was trying them on, and that's when Hedy came in, and Allie was just like caught in the act. She's just like, oh, I was just... here I am. We haven't even lived together for 2 weeks, and I'm already snooping around your things. And then that's where Hedy starts to undress, which I thought was a great scene because Allie is just kind of like, she gets all sheepish and she looks away because Hedy's almost like, okay, well, first of all, can we talk about, like, there's definitely some major lesbian undertones here because Hedy is like full on into Allie, right? Can we...
I think it goes beyond that. I think it's like one of those things like, I would never tell anybody who sees that's not there. The same way if somebody were watching Hannibal, the TV series, I wouldn't say there's nothing between Hannibal and Will. But I do think it goes maybe even beyond something like that's.
Well, I don't think it's like sexual. I mean, like, I think that there could be sexual, but I think it's more of just like an emotional
merging
attachment that she has for her, and it's full on, like, it's obsession, obviously. And I think that there's definitely, like, if Allie, if Bridget Fonda's character was open to it and just said like, oh, you know what, I think I'd, want to be into like doing something with you, Hedy would be like, okay, yeah, I've been planning this for a while. How are we going to do it? Like...
Or I wonder if something like that might be too, like, too intimate on a level that Hedy might not be able to... I don't know, because I'm seeing now you're making me think about, like, things like Tom Ripley. I remember...
This is also... It's 1992, so, this predates... Actually, I think it's the same year as Basic Instinct. But even then, like, Basic Instinct was like pushed boundaries, whereas this just kind of straddled the line of being risque, but still, like, bottom line, it's a thriller.
Well, because Barbet Schroeder even himself said in the interview, because the interviewer started comparing it to Basic Instinct because I guess it was the most recent thing to come out prior to this, and he didn't see it. He said, I mean, he saw the movie, but he didn't see the connection between the two of them because to him, he's a director, so of course he's going to see it through this lens. Basic Instinct is a contemporary film noir, whereas this is much more a horror movie. And then the interviewer brought up Fatal Attraction, and he was just like, yes, I see that. That's definitely, because Fatal Attraction is definitely a domestic horror movie.
Yeah, well, Basic Instinct is also, I don't feel that the characters in Basic Instinct are real people. Like, Sharon Stone is like a supervillain in that movie, whereas I feel like people like Hedy actually exist. Like, that's probably like a real diagnosed thing where if a person like that was put in a scenario where they over idealized someone and almost like started to manifest their like become them in their life, basically because they didn't have their own personality that they could just like mirror someone else's, like that is a thing. Sharon Stone in Basic Instinct, she's like a master manipulator who
she's very written. She's very and even though she is a sociopath, and Sharon Stone took that to heart when she was playing her, and I think she did obviously she did a legendary job, because your mom was no Sharon Stone, but but beyond that, the character in and of itself in Basic Instinct is very written, whereas I feel like Hedy is very
it's authentic,
painstakingly crafted by the screenwriter and by Jennifer Jason Leigh, because she said she was doing her research, because she always does a huge amount. She watched this episode of 60 Minutes one night that was talking about a girl who was seeing a therapist, and he was like this cool hip therapist who was like just kind of like trying to put a spotlight on mental illness without exploiting it, and just trying to normalize it. And he spoke of this twin girl who was willing to share her story. And while Jennifer Jason Leigh was watching it, she had the script for Single White Female, and she was like, "Oh my God, this girl is so right for Hedy, and I need to talk to this man. I need him to get me to either talk to her or talk to somebody else." She got in touch with him, and he talked to her, and this word came up, fusion, about what happens when twins get kind of lost in each other. She talked about like these twins who actually existed, who literally created their own language with each other and didn't deal with other people. They wouldn't speak to other people or acknowledge them. They became so enmeshed with each other and were so incredibly bonded that they had convinced themselves they were all they needed to survive. And then there was there's a movie there, but there's a huge amount of problems that are going to come, after that. And that's why you need therapy. But anyway,
but that's the movie. It's basically, she lost her twin at 9 or whatever it was, and she was looking to fill that void. I don't think it was ever, she didn't need to have Steven Weber or any of that. She just needed for Bridget Fonda to not have that, because she wanted to take all that stuff away, so all that would be left was there waiting for her.
Yeah, and this strange usurping of Allie's identity, to the point where you almost eclipse her, yet at the same time this bond with her is the most important thing in the world to you. So if you ever purge the fixation, if you ever take her out of the equation, it's a huge loss. It's like cutting yourself in half, which is why I love the device when, it's very Thriller, but when Allie is in poor Graham's apartment and we think he's dead, but she's duct taped to that chair, and the knife, the serrated edge knife, comes out, and Hedy presses it to her neck, and you can feel like, okay, this could happen. This could really happen right now in, Jennifer Jason Leigh's intensity of her performance. And so Allie kind of pulls the ripcord and just kind of, I don't remember what the exact line is, but it's just something like, don't let me leave you, or don't make me leave you, Ellen, is what she says. She calls her by her actual name and says, "Don't make me leave you." And immediately you just see Hedy crumble into this sobbing little girl mess. And you can even see Allie, Bridget Fonda, not knowing how to really deal with it. She has her hand kind of free, but her wrist is taped to the chair. So she just kind of starts stroking the top of her head with her bound wrist, but her free hand. And with this almost kind of confused look on her face, like, how am I going to get out of this? I think it's hilarious. I had such a good time watching this movie. But
did you know that... Well, Bridget Fonda was originally offered, after the Whoopi Goldberg rumor, is that she was offered the role of Hedy, but she chose Alison instead because she thought it would be more of a challenge.
It is, because Hedy is obviously...
You're the less interesting character. You're the...
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or, you run the risk of being the less interesting character, but the thing is, she's such a good actress that she's there. She's there meeting Jennifer Jason Leigh at every single moment that they act together.
I think my favorite part is well, when before the makeover, or when she or Hedy takes Allie to the salon, and she's just like, "Oh, I don't want to do this." She's like, no, it's on me. Oh, good. All we see is Allie in the chair, and the stylist does whatever to her. It looks exactly the same, but she's like, "Oh, it looks great." And I'm thinking, he didn't do anything. He probably took a scissors and said, "You're done."
Yeah, and then, just a trim.
And then we see Hedy come down the stairs, full Rachel Lee Cook, and she's all that. And then we get the line, "You gotta be fucking kidding me." Although I don't think she said fucking, but it's just "You gotta be kidding me."
I love it. I also, I love what follows because they're walking down the street and they look insane with the twin. Because the bowl cut, when it first came back on screen, I had kind of forgotten it was there, or at least. And then the second I saw the first shot of Bridget Fonda, I was just kind of like, oh yeah, the fucking bowl cut. And then I just started getting flashes of Jennifer Jason Leigh in the silver jacket with the bowl cut, like going down, deep throating Steven Weber and everything. And it all came flooding back to me, most of it anyway. But yeah, I just I'm kind of shocked. I mean, there's no movie if she's more proactive in terms of like drawing boundaries or even excising this person from her life. But is there a point in this movie for you where Allie really should have blown the whistle, or could have blown the whistle and been like, okay, that is it. That's the line. That is too much. Was there a moment like that stood out for you, or is it the whole movie?
I don't know. Like that's the thing. Like we talked about how there were some walls because it did hit the same beat over a few times.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, until the dog incident, I probably would have been Team Hedy, because right from the onset, she says to her, like, look, I'm not gonna move in here, and you're not gonna, like, all of a sudden go back to your fiance. Yeah. And she's like, no, that's never going to happen. And then literally, that's exactly what happens. And it's almost... And you that's the thing with Hedy, is like, even if you don't sympathize with her, you at least can empathize with her, and you see that frustration at the beginning there, because she's seeing exactly what's happening. It's just like, I'm now being pushed out, like I just got here and this guy's coming back in, and it does make Allie kind of a douchebag at the beginning there, because they're even having a conversation between her and Allie and Sam, where they're like, well, what are we gonna do about Hedy? And she's like, she'll understand. She like, no, clearly she won't. So you don't know your own roommate. You don't know the situation that you've created here for yourself and her. So I don't know, because I feel like a lot of the because you can already see Allie getting annoyed with Hedy early on, like when she's making breakfast for all of them and stuff, and it's just like, she has every right. Like, she lives there, she can make breakfast, she can fucking she got the dog for you, and she's like, come here, buddy, like, three's a crowd, and you just see Allie like, he's fine, leave him alone, like like snapping at her for no reason. So it's almost like she's getting she's projecting her frustration over the dilemma that she's created for her roommate in this situation. So it's like, it's almost like Allie is the villain of the movie in the first half until the dog is killed, and then it's just like, how could you do that? Like, we were rooting for you. We were all rooting for you.
But I mean, especially because to add to the douchebaggery of Allie, the fact that the reintroduction of Sam, once she finally relents, it's like she relents to the unteenth power, and that's when she really starts to get annoyed. That's when she really starts to feel like the claustrophobia of Hedy's presence. And I don't... if you look at it from Hedy's perspective, or anyone who would be in Hedy's position, where, yes, you opened up the doors and you told me that you weren't just going to get back together with your boyfriend and everything like that, and now he's back in the picture, and now I'm slowly getting weird, no, not so weird, but I'm slowly getting notes of jealousy from you and notes of territorialism. And the only other thing I think is, because it's called Single White Female, and because the commercials all said single white female, it's like, I know Hedy's the bad, the heavy one. She's the one who's going to ultimately cross many boundaries, and who's also got total, like, Eve Harrington designs on Margot Channing's would be husband, as it were.
That's probably like that's going as far back. All About Eve is the original Fatal Attraction and Single White Female.
Certainly Single White Female. And Single White Female predates Showgirls, doesn't it?
Yes.
What year was Showgirls?
Probably like 95, I want to say.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Another Paul Verhoeven.
Oh, Paul Verhoeven. Yeah. It's sad that I've seen Showgirls more often than I've seen Basic Instinct. That's actually really shameful. But haven't seen it in many years though. But I also just love there's a moment, it's very here we're talking about authenticity, and I absolutely do adore that, but I also enjoy the very kind of genre feel of certain moments. There's one really, really subtle one where it's when Allie's breaking the news to Hedy that she's back together with Sam and everything like that, and she's like, oh, nothing bad is going to happen to us, whatever, like that. And Hedy just looks at her hand and goes, is that an engagement ring? It just goes, it's not even a line. It's like two breaths, two exhalations that are defensive, but also, very, very protecting of I don't know, her clavicles or something. And I absolutely adore that. I love the melodrama of Allie spying on Hedy masturbating, because I didn't understand exactly what was going on there. Like, if we're talking about a blurred line, at least in terms of like the sexual nature, or just maybe the physically free nature of what it means to be, I don't know, really, really close roommates, best friends, sisters, just women who are free, I guess, undressing around each other.
Whoa.
How free is too free? Like, where is who's drawing the boundaries and who should be?
Well, that's the thing. Like, that's why like Allie is like, they're both kind of adding fuel to the fire, because Allie's got this like voyeuristic streak where because we see like that's like, if I was in had a roommate and they were masturbating like that, and I even saw like the door was open or there was anything, I would just be like, okay, like, none of my business, let me get the fuck out of here. I don't want to be anywhere near that right now. Or maybe I do, I don't know. But but for Bridget Fonda to like full on just like stand there and just take it in like it's a fucking show. And then not like, once her presence is known, or just like that there might be a presence there, she like quietly, or like, because she had the dog with her, remember, she locked the dog out and then jumped in bed and then like did the thing where she like closed her eyes real tight, like, I'm not awake. But then you see Hedy like open the door and come in and put the dog in, and then Hedy stands there and watches them sleeping. So it's just like there are no like, neither of them have any boundaries. And then of course the scene where like after the transformation and Allie full on stalks Hedy, like gets in a cab and just like, follow that woman to the sex club. And that was just a weird fucking scene. Yeah, because that was the scene where I guess you really see that like for the first time that Hedy wants to be her sister. Like, she thinks of Allie as her sister because she's talking to the guy who looks a lot like Steven Weber, and she says to him like, oh, you look so much like my sister's boyfriend. So it's like, she has to, it's all about becoming her now. Like every
that fusion to the point where there were two and now there are one. But also, just to close the door on the masturbatory thing, one of the things that I thought, because I think I was looking down,
no one else was closing the door on it.
No. I think I was scribbling a note, so I missed the fact that Sam was in bed with Allie before she went to go, see whatever was going on, whatever motivated her to go across the hall. I missed. So when she walked over, I thought she was following noises because she didn't know where Sam was. And when she saw just a back, I was like, wait, that's not this early in the movie, is it? But I wondered if she was suspecting that possibly Hedy was sleeping with him, and that's what that back, because the first thing we see is her back before she flips over and it's clear what Hedy's doing. But then when she ran back to bed and Sam was right there, where she just came from, I'm like, oh, so what you doing? So I don't know. I still don't have an answer. But yeah, the no boundaries thing. The more we talk about this, I think the more anti-Allie I'm gonna be. But also, what gets me back on Allie's side first is after the puppy dies, because she sometimes animals die in a movie, and it could even be like a family pet or something like that, and they like kind of pick up an empty bowl and feel sad for a scene, and then they move on. But with this, I love the fact that she was so incredibly affected, because even though he had been in her life for such a short while and she didn't want him to begin with, he made his way in the same way Hedy did, in terms of just like endearing himself and being something that became a component of her daily life. And I love the fact that she just got, I don't even remember the line she said there either, but I just remember the tone, the intonation was all up here, and just runs out of the apartment to go collect the poor puppy. But then what put me completely on her side after that was the fact that here Hedy gives Sam a pill that he even thanks her for to give to Allie, that Allie did not know she was taking. So that's upsetting. And then after, I think immediately what follows that is the assault. That. Oh, it was the next morning, and he's just like, thanks for the pill or whatever, because and then I think that's when Hedy starts to do her weird kind of me.
Well, I just remember the thing with them, and she's kind of almost like leading him to her bedroom. But then he's like relenting, but she's still kind of like caressing his hand as the door closes.
Hand.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so great.
And there's there's definitely a part of him who's just like, he wants that. And
he is the kind of guy who would blame his cheating on, I fell in, he's just a complete loser, no scruples, just like, that's.
I mean, he lives out of a hotel. Right? No offense to anyone who does. But he's clearly, I don't trust him.
He's a hoe.
Yeah.
He is a hoe.
He's the hoe. Do tell, yeah.
Yeah, right. But also because the fact, I think that's another thing. There are moments where the script is quite brilliant in its authenticity, because I think Allie asks a really, really good question in a great way, where she's just kind of like, and the only reason I found out was because I heard the message, like, were you ever going to tell me? Do you know how scary that is? And I'm just like, that is really fucking scary. I love the way you put it. Like, because as someone who's been cheated on before, I know that you can feel like a crazy person because you thought things were one way and now all of a sudden they're another, and then you just start doubting everything. Like the fabric of your very reality is completely kind of like unwoven? Sure, why not? Keep the fabric metaphor going. But so he's a piece of shit, and he does give her a pill, because also she wakes up the next morning late because she had the pill, and I think she even grabs the bottle or something. It's just like, oh fuck, somebody drugged me. But then she goes over, I think maybe that same day, maybe it's the next day, I don't know, but one of the next scenes is with Stephen Tobolowsky, Mitchell, the guy who, cornering her and all the shit, and then the assault happens and everything, and the very first thing that happens when she goes home is Hedy gives Allie another pill. Like, here, just get hooked on the stuff. And I mean, that would have been actually a really interesting angle if we had more of, if there was less intrigue to this movie, because by the third act it does get very violent and very jolty in a very kind of exploitative but still fun for me way. But if we were going a more literary way, it would have been interesting if she could have been like slowly trying to get her addicted to painkillers or something like that to make her even more dependent and even less self-reliant. That would have been an interesting angle for me anyway. And then she tells her after. Yeah, right. But she also tells her, I mean, this movie is the perfect length for me, but I love that Hedy even tells her after the assault, just like, it's total victim shaming, but she just says, you're too nice, that's the problem. And there's a part of me while I'm watching that scene that I'm just like, okay, that's victim shaming, but you know what? You really are. I mean, look who's telling you you're too nice.
Yeah.
She shouldn't even be in the apartment at this point, but she is. And the fact that, how do you feel about Hedy threatening Mitchell and his family over the phone when that phone call happens? She talks to him over the phone and just says something like it's over for you and your family.
I just thought it was funny because it was more so just Bridget Fonda's reaction to that, because it's like, gee, Hedy, remind me to never make you angry. And it was almost like she felt uncomfortable. That was maybe the line. Like, that's where it would have been like, you need to leave. But like, obviously she couldn't tell her at that. It was just like this. Like she was just announcing out loud like what the truth was. It's just like, I better never make you angry because you'll literally kill me. So I think it was just more so her kind of reminding herself in the moment, or just giving her clarity over the situation. In terms of like the Mitchell guy, like, I don't care. Like, ruin him and his family. That's fine. What did you see that fucking software that was so 90s of like whatever?
Oh yeah, it was
program.
great. It looked like solitaire. It was hilarious.
Yeah. I was just like, well, because it was almost like the Clueless. You talked about Clueless, where she has the thing that like plans out her wardrobe for the day.
Yeah.
So basically,
'90s.
She just took technology that only existed in Clueless and made it a thing and sold it to this company.
Oh my god. And yeah, it reminded me of the era back when Microsoft was all the rage. When, you know, flying toasters were the default like screensaver, and I don't know. It took me back. I think it's really kind of charming actually to go back to the 80s and the 90s. That's one of my favorite things, is just seeing like what technology looked like back then, and it can feel so high tech, you know, to them. And because I was alive then, I remember how high tech it felt, but it's still, you know.
If this came out in 2022. How many issues would not exist in this movie because of updated technology? Because
of the internet? Because in this day and age, everybody Googles to do their research.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. That could be the scene where she discovers like the box, because I mean, this is like now long gone. The small box of newspaper clippings or the scrapbook that you would unearth, because that's what happens after. The threatening of Mitchell and the haircut reveal and everything, which are all huge red flags. But then she finds out that the twin didn't die as a baby, and that she's lying about her name, that she's really Ellen Besh, which I love how much Besh sounds like bitch. Besh. I love it. And you find out that the sister drowned, question mark, question mark, question mark.
So you think that Hedy murdered the sister?
I wanted to ask you, what do you think?
They kind of presented it like it could have been, but they full on stated that her sister died as an accident, because when the parents called, and there might have been something said to her like, it's not your fault, sort of thing. So it was almost like survivor's guilt. And there's this theme that comes out of nowhere at the end. That's like the final monologue of Bridget Fonda's character, when she's just like, yeah, I cried the whole week of Sam's funeral. I just had to, Hedy didn't forgive herself for her sister's death, but I can make a difference by forgiving Hedy for Sam's death. There's some bullshit like that.
Right. Well, I thought she meant like forgiving herself, but okay.
Well, I think there was like she forgave herself, but also forgive Hedy. It was just all about forgiveness.
Just forgiveness all around. Yeah, why not? Everybody.
I'm just thinking of like the Anna Faris song from Just Friends. Forgiveness.
Oh, I love I got you to sing.
Yeah. Well, I can't remember how it went. It was
neither
was
can
so
I.
Simple, yeah.
But oh god, Anna Faris.
That's what we need, like a remake of this movie with Anna Faris as.
Oh!
Honestly, I think like Anna Faris could probably do, like, if they they should do like Scary Movie, but like as
oh my god,
single white female.
Oh my god. Yeah, and Anna Faris is Jennifer Jason Leigh, and who would be?
No. I think that Anna Faris should be like as Cindy, just be
really? Oh my
Bridget Fonda's
god!
character.
And get like Rachel Dratch to play Jennifer Jason Leigh or somebody like that. That'd be hilarious. But that would actually be really, really funny. I would totally see that movie.
But it's way too dated. Like both scary movie and single white female. To have a movie just basically merging those two.
Anna Faris
properties.
and Regina Hall say over and over again they will come back. If there is ever a script or an opportunity extended to both of them, they will come back to do another scary movie sequel. They had that much fun doing it together. So anyway, back
Well,
on
then in
track.
that case, then I think that Brenda would have to be the gay friend living upstairs. She would just be sitting there with like the wine in front of the vent.
And she'd just be doing a podcast, while she's listening, just like, okay, so all of you would, I don't know, oh God, that'd be hilarious. But, and she would have to die because Brenda dies in every movie. But, and then comes back for the next one. Not everyone? I thought she died in all of them. Okay, whatever. It's been a minute since I've seen those two. Yeah. No, she died in the
first and the third.
Yeah.
But not the second or the fourth.
Grass.
Yeah.
Yeah, the second one. Well, she was... Oh, is that the alternative ending that I'm thinking of, where they were all ghosts? That's the alternative ending of Scary Movie 2 that I'm thinking of, maybe.
I'm not sure.
Okay, it's been too long. I have to rewatch those. But we were talking about the baby. Okay, because as far as the drowning and everything like that, I do believe that the parents believe it was an accident, but I also wonder... I feel like there is a bit of ambiguity around it for a reason, for us always to kind of doubt, is it a Baby Jane scenario, or is it a reverse Baby Jane scenario, or who wronged who? And I also wondered, because this is a thing that I saw, that establishing shot of the two young girls, like one of them is like, what is she putting lipstick on the other one? Yeah. And
the
one of them
shot of the movie.
Yeah, and one of them seems to be largely kind of like the initiator, the caretaker, the one who's applying the lipstick. And the other one is just kind of sitting there passively, having the lipstick applied to her and just having her hair stroked and just kind of sitting there just like a doll. And I wondered while I was looking at that, I was like, okay, I know this is Hedy and her twin. Which one is Hedy? Mm-hmm. Do you have an opinion on which one?
I was thinking that when that came on, and I guess like the onset of it, I just assumed that Hedy was the one who was applying the makeup, like the one that was more in the power position. But now that you bring it up, and just knowing that Hedy was more of just like the blank canvas, that she would be the one who was getting the makeup applied to her.
Yeah. See, there's a good case to be made for either way, and I kept coming back to it, like maybe every, I'd say 20 minutes or so.
Oh, I forgot all about it right at the beginning.
Oh, no.
Right
it stayed with me. It stayed. No, it stayed with me. And then afterwards, I watched another interview with Jennifer Jason Leigh promoting the movie, and from back in the day, from like 92. And the interviewer had enough presence of mind to ask her, not about that moment, but just to ask, as far as the twinship, usually there's one who is dominant and one who is more submissive. Which do you believe Hedy is? And Jennifer Jason Leigh said without hesitating, the less dominant one. She is absolutely the submissive one who is having an impression made on her. She is she and I think that also informed the way she played her. She didn't want to play her as just kind of like some stock crazy aggressive character. She wanted to play her as someone who had been taught a particular way, who didn't have the correct, I guess not the correct, but like the wiring she needed in her brain or in her sensory apparatus to cope. Mm-hmm. And just kind of like went around the world aimlessly trying to love the best way she knew how. And that's another thing that just like kind of like elevates. It's still an exploitative 90s thriller, but there's things about it that I can really hook into that elevate it for me, that like that.
Yeah. And
now I think forever I'm just going to look at that passive little girl having the lipstick applied and think Hedy's learning this is what love is. This is what taking care of someone, putting your arm around them, stroking their hair.
Yeah. That one's Hedy.
Yeah.
What do you think? I was gonna say, because Hedy just shows up, and we don't
Yeah.
really get any major information. Obviously, she's living under this fake identity, but we see that she has a job. She works in a bookshop, and she's probably like the worst
Yes.
bookshop girl ever. She's just like, it's somewhere down there. Just go over there. You know,
it's in the front against the wall. I'm on a phone.
I'm on my lunch break. What do you want?
They hired her because she looks good in brown. That's why.
Yeah.
she
looks like a librarian or a bookshop.
Exactly.
Girl. Do you okay?
bangs.
Do you think that did she already have that job, or did she just kind of like show up and then, you know, got herself settled in all the right places that she could, you know, continue living this ideal life as Allie's roommate?
I'm always fond of thinking like about the movie surrounding the movie, and I'm fond of thinking like of characters actually just kind of, because obviously she's on the run, like she's done this before, and I don't know how many times, but I think it's I don't know, I feel like the bookstore was a place that could sustain her and a place where she could kind of go unnoticed, because it's, I mean, I don't remember. I worked in a bookstore, and I'm trying to remember the people who helped me whenever I went to a bookstore. Has anybody been particularly memorable? And no, not really, which is sad.
Well, I'm
'cause I've
thinking of
probably been
like
helped by
the show You with Penn Badgley, because wasn't that his thing?
Right.
Just this.
I haven't watched it. I don't know.
Oh, well, he works in a bookshop, and that's You is like a single white female-ish for like straight people, straight couples.
Right.
But yeah, he works in a bookshop, and he just becomes obsessed. The first season becomes obsessed with this girl that walks in without knowing anything about her, but just like based off of her presence, and then proceeds to stalk her and find out everything about her until eventually just putting like himself into her life as her boyfriend. So maybe that's just a thing, like people who work, if you work in a bookshop, let us
First of all,
know.
what are you doing?
Yeah.
There are barely any bookstores left. What are you doing? I mean, I love Barnes & Noble. Actually, the girl who helped me return my Valley of the Dolls Criterion Blu-ray, because it skipped, I had to take it back and return it. She was very helpful. See, I remembered somebody. If I had to point her out in a lineup, I couldn't do it, but I do remember that she helped me anyway. But so see what I mean? Like it's a way to like interact with a lot of people. You get a lot of foot traffic in a bookstore, particularly in the early 90s. So that twinship, you're kind of, whether you know it or not, you're looking for.
Yeah.
You stand a really, really good chance of coming across the right person. And also, that's another thing. That's a good conversation you can have with someone if they pull the right book, or if they're looking for the right title. Because when I used to work in a bookstore, I mean, it was barely a bookstore. It was a Borders. Borders is just, you know, a book music superstore with Seattle's best coffee. Whatever. I didn't read one book while I was working there. Anyway, but I had read books before, so I could reference them, so I could talk to people about authors, and customers would make recommendations all the time. So there's this casual intimacy that you can kind of move into with people. Because also when you talk about books, there is something a little bit more personal than when you're talking, or can be more personal when you're talking about movies or TV shows, because they're less readily available. You have to actually invest time and, you know, get into the mind of the character and be seduced by the author and all of that kind of stuff. So
well, I think
that actually would have been a great device in there too, to see her get a little bit more like establishing herself in a bookstore, trying to find that
ways that we could have made single white female better.
A series,
but I think, like,
just expand it.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
I mean, I could work. I could see it. The single white female, the television series. But no, I was gonna say, because you know we had the thing at the beginning where Allie almost took on the roommate that was actually credited as perfect applicant, who that would have been the even worse psychopath. But then there would have been, you know, almost like a Gwyneth Paltrow sliding doors scenario where the movie would have gone off into two separate factions, and then we would have just been with Hedy, who just remained working at the bookshop and never met Allie, but then would single white female someone who came into the bookshop and got a book, and then by the time the movie ended and Allie had fought off the one psychotic roommate and Hedy, dealt with her bookshop girl, but then they finally come together after like missing each other at the beginning, and then oh, I think this is gonna be really great, and then like dun 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 sequel.
You can't escape your fate.
Yeah.
But
how very Halloween.
Yeah, right.
H40.
I also
or like
one thing.
Face your fate.
Another thing that I absolutely adore, as far as like maybe the more like I don't know, the trashier aspect of the movie. I love the fact that like after Hedy. Also, okay, brava to Jennifer Jason Leigh for giving some serious deep throat acting when she's going down on Steven Weber, because my God, the way her head is like, oh, like I don't know. Okay, I won't do anything else much. I'll get us demonetized, but I just love the fact that like it escalates into this argument where he thinks he can take the high road by confessing to Allie exactly what happened. And I guess he kind of has a leg to stand on, but at the same time, he didn't... And I don't want to sound like I'm victim shaming, but because I don't know how much control I would have in his position, but the fact that he lets it, shall we say, go to completion, and then kind of like pulls the covers up and does the shame fetal position, I don't know. There's a case to be made.
I think that like, well, first of all, he has no idea what's been going on. I was trying to clock it. Like I think it was like after the dog died, he disappeared. Like he was away on business or whatever. So it's like that was the whole thing. He was out of town. He finally came back. He called, but Jennifer Jason Leigh was waiting by the phone so she can pick it up on that first ring so it wouldn't wake up Allie, so she could find out that he was back and then go to the hotel room. So he was just, he was sleeping. He had no idea. He had no idea what was going on with them. And when, she came in, and they even filmed, like, Bridget Fonda is in that scene. That was her that initially like went into the bed, so they were trying to like
amazing.
to create that like the uncertainty there.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's one of like he was in mid, blowjob. It just when you're there, it just there you could see there was like a look of, and I'm not like excusing him or anything but it's just but like it's almost like he realized it. He'd already been like, oh, fuck. And then let it happen. But the fact that, he's like, no, I'm going to tell her, even knowing that to tell her could potentially end their relationship.
I don't think he thinks that, though. I really think he thinks that because he's being open with her about it this time and not hiding it from her like he did the last time, that there's going to be some kind of like gratitude on her part. Because what she did is fucked up, and what I did, I'm doing the right thing by telling you. And then if she dares follow up, which we know she will,
I don't know. I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt in that moment, because I think that like the thing you mentioned it before, that what she brings up to him when she says like, if I hadn't picked up that phone, would have I ever found out?
Yeah.
So he knows how important it is for her to know the truth, even if the truth isn't, particularly ideal to hear. So I think that he knew that just like, I can't like keep this from her. She has to know about it, because if there's any chance of us ever having a successful relationship, I'm going to have to come clean about this. So I do think that he realized that there was a risk involved, but in order to get past it, they would have had to have the conversation. Anyway, it's a moot point anyway, because she takes the fucking stiletto and slams it into his eyeball.
And there is this intrigue music that just swells up. I can't even do an impression of it, but it is just delicious, because it is so melodramatic and so just kind of like, oh, it's like the gods falling from the sky. And Jesus wept. And everything that follows after that, that's when I feel like that's when the movie really kind of like hightails it into like camp, tastic, wonderful, like high action vitriol, like something. Because also I just love that the way she discovers it is like by watching the news. Allie is watching the news, and she finds out. She hears about his. They don't say his name, but they say his room number. Is
the room number. That's how she finds out. But I love that she calls and she asks for him, and they're like,
yes,
there's been an accident. Like that.
And then she just drops the phone because.
Are they not waiting for someone who, like, they even said, like, we haven't contacted next of kin or whatever. So when someone calls and they're just, asking for that specific room number or whatever, then you'd be like, please hold for the police or whatever. Or, don't just be like,
I don't know.
Oh, there's been an accident. Like, or at least be like, he's dead.
Yeah, right. More New York. Yeah, he died. Sorry, sugar. Have a good day, and just hang up.
Welcome to New York.
Welcome to New York. But because also I love the way that what kind of like clinches it for Allie in the sense that like not only is he dead, but I know how. Is she sees the shoes sitting in the corner of the bathroom on the white tile, and one of the shoes still has the blood. Like,
because it's so easy. You just look at that and you're like, that's how.
Yes, it is. Oh, that is some high. I mean, like that's like noir satire. So I think Barbie Schroeder is absolutely mistaken saying that this movie shouldn't be compared to Basic Instinct, because they're both noir satire in my mind. I love that Hedy starts asking about Sam and starts putting the gloves on, like just getting ready for like all of the devious deeds she needs to do to like hide everything that she did. It makes her into an absolute supervillain for me in that moment. And then her little breakdown as she's circling around Allie in Graham's apartment, where I just wrote down the line that I love, where she's just like, I can't keep making excuses for you, Allie. I can't. Ah! And just goes off into another room and just starts crashing shit. That's when I'm just kind of like, okay, this is high octane. This movie is delivering like fucking dominoes. Like I am absolutely here for it. And then there's that whole thing with the computer hacking going on over at Mitchell's little company. And it feels to me like there's a whole other movie going on between Mitchell, and she doesn't even have a name. She's just called, because Mitchell's name is Mitchell Meyerson. Her name is Meyerson's assistant. She's played by Michelle Pfar. And she's just sitting there just kind of like, I don't know what happened. I didn't do anything. Like, I mean, I'm sure he's a piece of shit to work for anyway. But he sees that, like, everything is getting deleted. Now, okay, I didn't understand what was going on in that moment. Like, is that something that was put in by Allie? Or is that, like, something that Hedy went in on her, like, espionage, like,
Well, I mean, Hedy did help her set up the thing. Because there was that scene earlier when Allie says, oh, thank you, I couldn't have done it without you, when they do the Polaroid selfie with the dog. But I was reading, because that part that's, one of the lulls where I'm just like, huh? So I was reading the synopsis on Wikipedia, and it said, when that particular instance came up, that it was part of a, like a security thing, that if the client didn't pay by a certain time, because we already knew that he hadn't paid her yet, and presumably still hadn't paid her at that point, that it would have it was just like a up thing. 90s technology, it just you could just set that up. You just set it up. It'd just be like, and we're gonna have a self-destruct
button.
Feature that if I'm not paid by this day, that it's gonna disappear.
But what I couldn't tell is just the origin, like the source. Like, was it supposed to be something that like Hedy had kind of like put into action, or is this like Allie kicking ass and taking names?
I think that it was just, it had just done it on its own.
Okay.
Or do you think that like Allie had done it in a way to get that guy to come there and save her because of all the people that she would? Because I mean, when you're in front of the internet, and if
she was typing on the computer,
but the thing is, if you can do all that on the internet, then you could you could do like the Sidney Prescott and Scream of like 911
call 911.
Why would you like do this thing and delete all these files from this like
all she had to do
terrible
was
client.
dial 911 on her computer and say "white woman in trouble," like on
single
a
white female
scary movie. Single white female in trouble.
In trouble.
Oh my God, that's the name of the book. Go on, I'm sorry.
Oh no, I was just gonna say that it doesn't make any sense that she would specifically like call that guy to come rescue her. He's the last person I want rescuing her. I even hated the way that he like came in and like straddled her body.
What was that? What the fuck was that? I was like, okay, what's happening now?
I'm more scared for her with him than Hedy at that point. Like, what is he doing? And then and then he gets like, you don't fucking like sit on like a person you're trying to rescue like that.
No, and he does it twice. Like, he does it, like, first, okay, he comes in, he's just kind of, like, leaning over her in, like, her POV shot, and then we don't see what he's doing until Hedy walks in, and then we see he is full on astride her, and then he fights her a little bit, he thinks he took her out, and then he gets astride her again! And I'm like, okay, and I'm really, really glad, actually, that Hedy got the upper hand in that moment, because whatever Hedy's going to put her through, Mitchell's going to put her through something worse. So, and she's already incapacitated, so I don't like that. But
and what was the point of him even being... He was basically like, what's his face in Misery?
Body.
Just showing
it was one more body. That was his point. It was like a light at the end of the tunnel, even though it was a very dim light. I mean, it's not. It's really just a reflective surface. It's not a light at all. But but I think it was so the body count could be upped, and also because he was established to be such a deplorable person.
Well, like we said, like all of the men in this movie, including the gay bestie, are kind of shitty.
Although when when it's revealed in the bathtub, because I forgot all about him. So the second it gets reestablished, like his body in the bathtub and the cat like curled up next to him, first thing
just waiting for him to die so he can eat him, obviously.
I know. Well, the first thing I thought was she killed the cat. And she called it like she did a Michael Myers, like in the Myers house with the gay couple, and like leaned them up against each other.
Oh, wow.
I thought that's what she did. I thought she killed him, killed the cat, and then let them just like sit in the bathtub together just because it's nice. And then I see him starting to move, and then I can hear, because I have a nice sound bar, even though, never mind. I was going to put down the streaming service that I watched this off of because the sound kept cutting out, but I'm not going to play like that. Anyway. If you DM me, I'll tell you. But anyway, then I could hear, though, because the sound was not cutting out at this particular moment, they ADR'd some purring. So I was like, oh, okay, so they want us to know that the cat is alive and happy because he's, on the chest of
But to get a meal,
Yeah, let's get... It was just waiting for Graham to stir, to wake up, and he did. But okay, so I just wrote down, oh my God, Graham's alive! This movie is amazing! And then just watching Graham and Allie unleash completely on Hedy, that's when that is like stunt acrobatic, like fireworks. There is so much slamming of people into things and smashing of heads into like surfaces and so much and just like, oh my God.
What would have been great though?
Oh, what?
Well, because the fight like basically carries out into the hallway where there's like gunfire. She like shoots Bridget Fonda in the shoulder, but then they get on the elevator, and I'm just like, me and like fucking like just thinking more like broad comedy here. They're like going down the elevator, they're like scrapping, and then it stops and someone gets on and they just like stop fighting and like wait in the like almost like the like Family Guy, like Peter versus the chicken or whatever, or just like some stupid bullshit like that. Where a person gets on, God. They go down a few floors, gets off, then they continue to scrap until it like comes down to the basement.
Yes,
that would have been amazing. It would have been stupid as fuck, but I would have loved it.
That.
Yeah.
Me too. Yeah, that is hilarious. We see this needs to be a musical, and that scene needs to be in it. You can do elevators on stage. It's really easy. Yeah.
Oh, and I love when she's like, after she thinks she's already killed Allie, and she's coming down the hallway with the big wheelbarrow. Like,
oh my God.
I'm just gonna like plop this body in the furnace.
Well, because also after Hedy thinks that she killed Allie, like ultimately, I love that I started to mention Tom Ripley and this kind of like weird, when we were talking about like the quasi-sexual nature of like, like, and one thing that Hedy kind of reminded me of Tom Ripley was just kind of like that blurred line, like with Tom Ripley, I remember hearing Matt Damon and Anthony Minghella, when they were talking about that character and his sexuality, they were both always of the mind that he's just, actually you brought up the term that I'm going to use, he was just a blank slate. Yeah. That he was essentially, basically a virgin and didn't know, never indulged his appetites, so he didn't know what they were. And he just kind of knew he had these inclinations to move into the circles of particular people or to gravitate toward other people, and he knew he had to lie because whatever he wasn't enough and everything like that. And the more I talk about him, the more I realize, oh my God, Hedy's just like that. Yeah. But there's something about her like getting all kissy and cuddly with Allie when she thinks she's killed her that felt very Tom Ripley to me, and very again, like, you can't win, because if you take out your twin, who are you? And you're just going to have to go finding another one, and then you're going to, and again, I would love to know, that's another reason I would love to have like a sequel, because sequels do give way too much information, and I would want it for this character. I'd want to know, how many times has she done this? How many girls has she killed? How many girls has she sent to the nut barn? No, I mean, you could just go do it modern day. Go on the internet.
Wait, so Hedy, but with Hedy's still
Hedy
alive.
lived. Hedy survived. I want, yeah.
So the first scene of the requel or whatever would be a flashback to 1992, where we see Bridget Fonda like throw the screwdriver down and walk away, and then you just see like Hedy's eyes open, and then it's like 30 years later, and these podcasters show up, and they're just like, we're investigative journalists. Yeah.
And I can see the trailer now with Bridget Fonda like wearing like a cardigan or something and just standing there and going like, in like a single piano key, and then Bridget Fonda going like, they never found her body. Ooh,
So the actual final scene of Single White Female is no longer canon.
Exactly. Because there was only a trail of blood left with the screwdriver, ding, that I pushed into her heart, ding. Something like that.
Dun, dun, dun. Yeah.
Also, I love that there's, again, like little symbolic things that I appreciate. Like, it's cheesy as fuck, but I really appreciated the fact that when Bridget Fonda's doing the Michael Myers thing in the with the rat up above and everything, and Jennifer Jason Leigh's kind of like going nuts and everything like that, but she thinks she's found her at one point, and she opens up, I can't remember if it's a locker or a broom closet or something, but it's got a mirror in it. And she sees her own reflection, goes, ah! And immediately stabs at it. And she doesn't even realize when she stabs, until she stabs into it, because there's so much pandemonium at this moment. But I love that she stabs a mirror thinking she's stabbing, Allie. I don't know, there was something kind of like my heart did a little skip when I saw that part. It made me really happy. And there's also one thing that I would love. I don't even know if I think Barbie Schroeder is still alive. If I could ever find footage of him in an interview or just ask him directly, I'd want to know if it was scripted that it should end with the photos of the two of them, like with the like half and half connected and everything like that, to make it look like one face. Because I know for a fact that Jennifer Jason Leigh, she always loves to cover the walls of her hotel room with whatever is going to like inspire her, whether it's artwork or what have you, even sketches she does herself or whatever. She'll just coat her walls. And what she did for this movie was she did a lot of photo shoots with Bridget Fonda and a lot of camera tests and a lot of that kind of thing. So, they're both actresses, so there's photos of them everywhere. Anyway, so she just got all these photographs and just found ways to kind of like connect them or cut the head off.
So do you think that was a picture of the two heads that Bridget Fonda found, or that Allie found, or that Bridget Fonda had actually put the two photos together?
I don't know.
To just be like,
like in memoriam.
Like the memory of of my evil psychotic.
Well, first off, I
roommate.
want to know if the reason he put it in is he went to go visit like Jennifer Jason Leigh like after a day of shooting and went, "What the fuck? I got to use this at some point." But also, yeah, no, the fact that that's one of the last things we see and that it's in Allie's possession at the end of the movie, basically. I'm wondering if it's something I would believe it's something she found and kept, if for no other reason. Maybe, I mean, not like for. Yeah, like a memento, just so she can always remember that time in her life. But no, not so much a memento, but maybe like a talisman, so she can always remember that time in her life. So anytime somebody is getting a little too close, being a little too friendly, and maybe fusing with her like a little too steadfastly and a little too eager, she can just kind of look at that and go, no. I'm changing my phone number.
I mean, I think that's like the best thing for that character is to just be on her own. So I think like the ending really was the perfect fit for her, because it's like no more boyfriend, no more roommate. I guess the gay upstairs is still there.
Neighbor, but unless she moved, like she could have moved away. I wouldn't want to live in that
look like a new apartment
anymore.
at the end?
I don't know. I'd have to.
No, I would stay in that apartment is beautiful.
Oh my God!
I would have to keep living there.
That is so New Yorker of you.
It'd be like the Friends apartment. Like if someone there was an episode where someone got murdered, and then the next episode, Monica would be like, "But it's rent controlled."
Exactly. I can clean it up. Just like compulsively, like scrubbing all the blood.
There's just like a blood stain on the floor. She's just like, yo, it's almost gone.
We find out it is the Friends apartment that all that went down in. But no, God, I don't know how much more I have to say, but I'm really, really glad we did this, because I didn't expect to have as much fun as I did. Like, I mean, I knew I was going to like it because I haven't seen it in probably at least over 15 years. And I watched it like last on just kind of like a Jennifer Jason Leigh binge. I was just, making my way through Miami Blues and, just a bunch of movies of hers that I adore. Oh, Georgia, God. She's just one of those actors that I can watch eternally, and who I always want to hear talk about acting, and who I don't know. It's so atmospheric what she does. Like she really carries the those covered hotel room walls in with her in every scene that she does. So I just remember the last time I watched it. The only scene that I really, really was looking forward to that I could remember, it was odd. It was the moment she's sitting with Buddy, waiting for Allie in Allie's room, in her bed. Yeah. And I just remembered her just like with this like dejected lover energy. This kind of like, so you just think, you can just go out and, it's New York City, things happen. There's a phone, there's telephone, is a thing, whatever she's.
See, if this was 2022, been like, hey, where are you? Oh, I'm just out with Sam. Okay, cool. Like I made dinner. If you, get home, it's in the stove or whatever. Just like something where she'd be like, where have you been?
Unless she turns her phone off.
Yeah.
I mean, some people do that.
Yeah, I could see.
Do you do that? Do you turn off your phone?
I turn my phone's always on silent, unless I'm expecting a call, then I'll turn it the ringer on. But I never turn my phone off. I just have it on silent, and there's some apps I don't have push notifications for, so I'm none the wiser.
I turn it off like when I go see plays or when I see movies. I'll turn it off. Yeah. But I mean sometimes movies, theater I want it off, but. Because I've spent money, but if it's a movie, I can do not disturb in airplane mode and silent, all three. Yeah. But I prefer for it to be off. So if it moves or if I shift in my seat, because I usually put it in a cup holder, and if I shift or push it or something like that, the light will go on. I'll be like, stop! Don't take me out of the movie. But yeah, the only time it goes off is I love to let it. This is so interesting, but I love to let the battery run all the way down. And then it shuts off, and then I plug it in and start charging it, because that saves the battery. Maybe that's just an urban legend, but it's what I believe. Anyway.
I couldn't tell you.
So
well, I was just gonna say. I mean, this movie's fine to me. I mean, I gave it a solid 3 stars on Letterboxd.
oh.
I mean, like it's good. It's not one that like I almost feel that it's the nostalgia of it is better than the actual movie. Like, it's not a bad movie. It works really well, but it's just like it's forgettable to me. Like, it's more like the premise of it is more recognizable than the movie itself.
If you watch Body of Evidence, you'll probably like this movie better.
Oh, I'm sure I will. But I still think that, this is where it falls. Like I said, it's fine. Yeah. I liked it. It's fine. That's a good. Like, it's fine. It's not like you talking about Nope. Like, it's fine.
I think it's more exasperated. Mine is just like, it's fine, but fill in the blank.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, but I mean, and also, I mean, if you were going to ask me, like, what's the better made movie, Single White Female or Nope? I'd probably have to sit there and just go, there's no comparing the two. I can't even answer that question. Yeah. And honestly, I can't, because
some movies just can't be compared. If you're gonna compare Single White Female to Basic Instinct or Swim Fan or The Roommate.
Yeah,
I do remember one thing I remember about The Roommate is that it's a kitten instead of the puppy.
Oh no, I can't. No.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I can't even do the puppy but I'm that's because I'm a dog uncle, but I am a cat daddy. So you show me shit happening to kitties. I'm a cat daddy. Yeah. You show me shit happening to little kitties. I'm looking at my kitty right now on the tile.
Okay,
no,
let's.
I can't do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's get to the cherry picker. All right, first order of business is the cherry on top.
Yeah.
I'm just. I know what you're thinking, and I just like I can't. I can't. I mean, we're just talked about this. I can't, in good conscience, allow for this dog murderer to be the cherry on top.
I mean, so who is your cherry on top?
I guess it would have to be Allie. Who else? Who else is in the movie?
It's almost like liar.
Yeah,
the one
like by
reneged
default
on her promise that she was not going to be that bitch who's like, well, we're back together right now and we're engaged, so get out.
Basically, I mean, like, when you compare like liar and back on their word or whatever you want to call that versus like a puppy
dog murderer.
I mean, like, I'll take the liar. I mean, it's a hard one. Like, okay, well, it's obviously not going to. There's literally 5 people in this movie.
Yeah, I know, and none of them.
Yeah.
But see, that's why I also kind of go off of like, okay, are we talking cherry on top? Because we've never really had to define this before. It's always been kind of like, oh, I get it and you get it. We know who we enjoy, but who we enjoy can be based off of like who the character is within the framework of the movie, or based off of like who the performer is and what they do with the character, or some kind of like wonderful gray area betwixt and between. So what would you rather base this on? And then maybe I'll be more agreeable.
I mean, I don't know. It's one of those things. I think this is just a very bad movie for a cherry on top, because it's like you said, like everyone.
What about Buddy? Can it be an animal?
You know what? There aren't any specific rules for the cherry on top. That I'm cool with that. Let's do it.
Okay, Buddy the puppy. Oh, I'm really happy with that.
Okay, we're gonna do that. There are no specific rules for the cherry on top, just the cherry pickers. So
yeah,
Buddy.
Please don't use the bird's eye view shot of him on the street. Like, yes. The Instagram showcase, please don't. Okay. Next.
So last week we asked you who deserves to die the most in Nope. And Oh, I just have my findings right here. Based on Patreon and Instagram and YouTube, not a lot of votes because I guess maybe a lot of people hadn't seen it, but 100 and I picked Ricky Jupe Park.
Yes.
You picked Antlers Holst. 180. What's that?
I don't even remember his name.
Yeah, that was your whole thing. He was so boring. We forgot about it.
Yeah.
181 to 112
okay.
in favor of Ricky Jupe.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know a few people who let me know, I'm sorry, I had to vote for Zach. I'm like, that's fine.
Why do people feel so...
okay.
There's like this sense of loyalty.
Know. I mean, I just love... it got to a point...
Yeah, vote
vote your conscience, vote your heart. Yeah. But I got to the point where I just started sending like dejected, like gifs or angry gifs. Just exactly that kind of thing.
I mean, that's your thing, just the angry gifs. But,
yes.
Anyway, David B
Fabulous.
says, Jupe. He didn't learn anything from the Gordy massacre, and later in life his actions led to many deaths. Loved this movie, my favorite Jordan Peele film so far.
Wow, cool.
Thomas Baker says, I like Steven, but his character got half the town dead, all because he saw a spectacle in the sky.
Oh, well, when you put it that way.
Wolfgang Oshman says, Antlers Holst because he decided to get the impossible shot instead of getting the hell out of Dodge. I understand why Jupe should, but Stephen Yen died in the... I think that's a spoiler. So I think he's already suffered enough.
Oh, okay. I know what he's talking about.
Yeah.
Got it. I agree.
Anthony DePuzzo says, Jupe! He learned nothing from poor Gordy and sacrificed innocent animals and eventually humans for his own relevance. I was so happy with his outcome in the movie. Somebody says Antlers Holst. And, okay, well, that's not relevant. We don't need to read that. But anyway, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, no, it was just someone saying thank you for the spoilers. And then, people reminding them or just saying that, like, that's not spoilers. It's, just the same conversation that we had before. It was just this like It's not who deserved, it's who deserves. Yeah. So anyway, single white female.
Yeah.
I mean, like, everyone sucked in this movie, but I think I'm leaning more towards Mitchell Myerson because, I mean, like, every fucking thing that he did was egregious, where I feel like at least the other characters do have redeeming qualities. This guy, from the moment he showed up on screen, was manipulative, condescending. He fucking, like, he dug into her personal history so he could, swindle a better price for him. Like, so he, undervalued the work that she was offering so he could, get a better deal, which he still didn't fucking pay for in the end. He sexually assaulted her in his place of business. And like, not even in like a subtle way, but like full on was just like, you're going to perform fellatio on me. Now, actually, this is a good thing that we didn't mention for Allie as when she did her two fists together slammed up into his crotch before running away. But
I would have been happy if she reached for a stapler and just and then ran. Full punch.
Threatens to ruin her career. And then in his attempt to rescue her, which he didn't even go there to rescue her, he went there so he could assault her probably, and then ends up straddling her in the most useless, like, heroic moment. Like, I don't know what the fuck that was. So, and then he wasn't even helpful. He just, was just another, body for the kill count. So that guy, like, no purpose in the movie other than to just be someone to like hate more than Hedy. And that's all he really did. So yeah. So Mitchell, that's my vote.
Okay. I'm torn.
Is it going to be the gay neighbor?
No. Because I mean, as far as like the worst characters, like, I mean, he did something that I think is pretty unforgivable, but everybody did in this movie. And at least he helped Allie out in the end. Like, he had the wherewithal to survive with his cat, and I hope he's living peacefully, listening to whoever's living in Allie's apartment now. But,
probably still her.
Probably still her,
Yeah.
but she's got it taped up because duct tape hides everything.
Yeah.
I thought about this while the movie was over, and I thought, if you get the first pick, I had a clearer path as to who I would choose. So I'm just gonna go with it. And even though it kind of like negates a point I made earlier about wanting a sequel, I'm gonna say Hedy. Just because I think the fact that she's a fictitious character helps me make my point, because I think about like somebody who's actually like suffering from some kind of like mental illness and everything like that, and I would never blame them for that, but it goes beyond that in this movie, and it becomes this kind of like problem you will never be able to solve. A person who does not want help and continually pushes it away and even threatens when it is offered, and who you can never determine who they will be to you, because you could do everything right and still end up duct taped to a chair because she decides on a particular day you didn't do it the right way. Or she won't even inflict the pain on you, she'll inflict the pain on something that she gifted you to help you bond together, but now that she feels rejected, she will kill it. and then try to hold you and comfort you when you are bereft that the thing that you loved that she gave you is now taken away from you. That is some mind fuckery shit. And because it's so insistent on pervading every aspect of her life, to the point where, like I said, she eclipses you and everything like that, and the fact that like there cannot be two of you, there can only be one, but she can't exist without you, so there must be two. It's just the eternal, exhausting cycle of abuse, and for no good reason other than like entertainment for us. So for all those reasons, I choose Hedy.
Could have just been like, kill the dog, gotta go, bitch.
Yeah,
Besh.
right. Besh.
Besh.
I mean, she's aptly named. They said back in the day that last names were granted to people based off of like something that they were affiliated with or something that was their line of work. So we know that bloodline was a bunch of Beshes, you know? Anyway, so yeah, that's how I feel.
Anyway, so there you have it. You could vote Mitchell Meyerson or Hedra Carlson.
Mm-hmm.
Or AKA Ellen Besh. You can vote on Patreon, Instagram, and YouTube. If you guys are supporting us on Patreon, on my Patreon, our bonus episode this month is Buffy the Vampire Slayer Season 1. So that's going to be out on the 24th of August. So that'll be available for all Freddy Krueger tier members and above. I just wanted to thank Andre Felix for all of the work he does editing this and cutting out all those bits that we don't want you to hear.
We?
If you guys are tuning into the Cherry Picker for the first time and are watching this on YouTube, you can also listen to it. The RSS feed link is in the descriptions down below. And if you're listening to this, you can also watch us on YouTube at the Cherry Picker. You can also follow us on Instagram at the Cherry Picker Pod. And individually, where can they find you?
You can also follow me on Instagram at EdwardIsTruth, one word. And if you just can't get enough of me, you can follow me or subscribe to me on YouTube. Also, Edward is Truth, one word. No also in front of it. You get it, the context. And you can watch me react to movies. And I'm still editing something new and then something else new. So things is coming. So for everybody who's subscribed, thank you. Things is coming. How about you, Zach?
And I'll just keep this short and sweet. You can follow me on Instagram at RetroBitchface. Twitter at ZachCherry8, and then my main YouTube channel, Zach Cherry. And we do have a review on Apple Podcasts, so I'll just read that. From Joe3018. They say, Zach and Edward, I got to admit, from the first moment I saw your cherry picker of Who Killed Who, I have been a fan. Know that I know you're on, not that I know you're on Apple Podcasts. Sorry, now that I know you're on Apple Podcasts, I can listen to your discussion on movies I'm interested in or have not seen. Thank you for all your hard work on these podcasts / videos. You guys are amazing. Keep up the good work. Thanks. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
Or
awesome.
JO3018. Appreciate that.
It works. Yeah, thank you. My gosh.
Do you know what's going on next week?
No.
Just
whisper it. Wait, just whisper it. Just tell me.
It's Scream 3.
Oh,
you want
it's
to tell
Scream.
that?
Okay, it's Scream 3. Yeah.
Scream 3.
See, I knew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You did totally. So it's a big one. We're making our way through the franchise. Little by little.
Yeah.
It's going to be an exciting one. But anyway, thank you for watching, for listening, and we will be right back.